Welcome to today's video. It's going to be something a little bit different. It's a game that I've played for a while. One that hasn't gotten a lot of press, at least I don't think it has. But it's not one that's terribly bad and it's not one that's terribly great either. But it does deserve some further discussion. So the game is called, as the title card says, Dawn of Andromeda. Now, quick disclaimer, the game was played on normal difficulty. It was purchased quite a long time ago, so there is going to be some sunk cost fallacy involved in this one. So we can't necessarily recall whether or not it was purchased for full price or at a discount. Moving on, Immersion. Now, the game attempts to immerse the player with several methods. Players are presented with options for agency, imagery, planetary preference, etc., etc. So that's all overall a very good level of immersion. So for this, it does have, because it doesn't do anything necessarily poorly and it doesn't do anything necessarily great, a 6 out of 15. Now, difficulty is one of the areas where the game is rather let down. The game scores a 6 out of 15. It is very, very complicated, as much of the games of this genre are. Now, the UI does contribute negatively toward the difficulty of the game, because there are multiple menus that are concealed within menus that are concealed within menus. And it does get rather difficult to keep track of what the player needs to be managing at any one time. And for this reason, it does seem to be it's a difficult distinction to make between this game and other games of the genre, but it isn't necessarily excellent in sort of ease of approachability, nor does it seem to be difficult in approachability, but the lack of any meaningful tutorial does let the game down, and that sort of contributes to this overall score of 6 out of 15 for a lack of for having features but not having others, which of course it does only get points for what it has. It doesn't get points for what it lacks, nor does it get points subtracted for what it lacks. Now, lasting appeal is another very unfortunate point for this game. It does score only a 3 out of 15 because the game really requires, we believe, to be played only for short spurts at a time, because it isn't able, or doesn't seem to be able to hold the player's attention for a very long time. And there does not appear to be any DLC forthcoming, and despite its significant amount of player agency, it just doesn't stand up with a noticeable lack of modding capability or modability to increase player interest. And for this reason, it does score a very low 3 out of 15. Now, in the final analysis, the game does score a 4.3 repeating out of 15. It is very low. It lacks much appeal in a crowded market. However, it does seem to be simpler than others of the same genre, and that may be beneficial to some players who are interested in the sort of grand strategy genre, and in particular space grand strategy, but aren't interested in devoting enough time, or devoting the significant amount of time that others of the genre would require, like games like Stellaris. So it does have a very niche appeal, and it isn't worth necessarily writing off because of the low score, but it doesn't necessarily rise very high. Players familiar with games like Age of Empires should be very familiar with the idea of this game. The biggest letdown are the lack of customizability and the user interface design, and how so many menus are hidden within menus, and a lack of a very complete tutorial. That's all we've got for this game. Thanks very much, and have a good day. Or not. That's all we've got for today. Goodbye.